Welcome to the Niche Podcast, your weekly rundown of the biotech, pharma, clinical research, and life science industries. I'm your host, Dr. Noah Goodson. This week, double approval, double acquisition, $200 million for tests, $200 million for prostate robots, $450 million for $1 billion worth of gummies. The views expressed on the Niche Podcast are those of the host and guests. They do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any organizations or companies with which they are affiliated. Incyte Bio saw back-to-back FDA approvals last week. Their topical Janus kinase JAK inhibitor, Opzelura, was approved for the treatment of mild to moderate atopic dermatitis in patients 12 years old and older. This approval of topical version of ruxolitinib is not without caveats. First, it's for short-term, non-continuous use. Second, other topical therapies need to fail to adequately control the dermatitis before it can be prescribed. The clinical trial data showed a robust response in about 50% of patients treated with Opzelura. Immune-mediated diseases like dermatitis may seem minor when compared to life-threatening conditions. However, the quality of life impact of living with a chronic skin condition can be severe. Opzelura is the first FDA-approved JAK inhibitor for atopic dermatitis and may mark the introduction of a new field of therapeutic options for immune-mediated dermal inflammation. On Wednesday, Incyte received FDA approval to treat chronic graft-versus-host disease, GVHD, with Jakafi, which is an oral version of ruxolitinib that has been previously approved to treat other conditions. If chronic GVHD sounds familiar, that's because we spoke about it 2 weeks ago when Sanofi acquired Cadman Holdings, who received FDA approval in July to treat cGVHD with their medication, Rezurock. Jakafi's cGVHD approval is obviously still good news, but with a competitive market and Jakafi marked as a second or third line therapy, it's not positioned as a blockbuster. 2 FDA approvals would seem to be a major victory at many companies. But for Incyte, it's not that easy. A string of challenges in their oncology pipeline sees Incyte's shares continue to drop across 2021. All of this is a great example of the challenges of being a publicly traded company. Good news for patients, like the approval of Opzelura and a new approval of Jakafi, does not necessarily translate to the shareholders' maximum benefit, and vice versa. Velocity Clinical Research has announced the double acquisition of 2 multi-site networks, Vitalink Research and the National Research Institute. The acquisitions add 11 sites to Velocity's existing 18 sites. This consolidation is not a big surprise. We mentioned back in episode 46 in April of this year that Velocity had been acquired by the private equity group Navimed. We expected continued shakeups as the roles of site networks continue to evolve. It looks like they may go the way of the CRO. That is a consolidating process of continual acquisitions. Site networks have been through tumultuous times as a result of the pandemic. This may position them to be ready for new, larger management structures, and I suspect there will be a string of sales and consolidating acquisitions in the next 6 to 12 months. With major shifts in both medicine and clinical research and site networks sitting in the hot seat, I don't think this is the last change of 2021. Looming in the background is the larger question of how site networks as a whole will evolve across the next decade as the application of clinical research continues to change. Q Health has gone public with a $200 million IPO. Q has been an R&D-focused testing provider for more than a decade. But when 2020 hit, they found themselves prepared for their moment in the sun. Their leading technology, a rapid COVID-19 test kit, utilizes a nasal swab and Bluetooth to deliver results on a phone within 20 minutes. The technology has garnered major support, driving Q to $202 million in sales in the first half of this year, and an award of close to $500 million from the United States Department of Defense. Investors view Q positively, and shares closed at around $20 per share on Friday, up 25% from their IPO pricing. With the pandemic an uncertain long-term income source, Q has plans to develop a range of additional testing mechanisms and continue partnerships with the government as well as commercial partners. The path forward with point-of-care testing is anything but clear. It's a growing industry in a challenging landscape with plenty of potential and plenty of competition. We'll see if this close to $3 billion market cap is right on cue. PROCEPT Biorobotics Corporation has closed a $189 million IPO. The commercial stage surgical robotics company will use the money to push forward their sales pipeline and developments for additional therapies. Their core product heading to market is called aquablation. It removes excess prostate tissue to alleviate symptoms experienced by many aging men. The key with aquablation is that it combines robotics, imaging, and treatment for a surgical solution with no cutting, just water pressure. With a hefty and permanent market and promising clinical trial results, PROCEPT is set to make a big splash moving forward. Investors seem to agree, with shares settling in around $38 a share, up 50% from their IPO. Catalent has announced a $450 million raise through senior notes to fund the acquisition of Betera. Catalent is a major manufacturer of medical and consumer health products. They announced the $1 billion acquisition of Betera at the end of August. This new raise will fund the acquisition of the nutraceutical and supplements manufacturer. Compared to medicine, nutraceuticals, supplements, and botanicals require a unique customer approach that blends active ingredients with core consumer concerns like taste, appearance, and texture. The nutraceutical industry, and particularly the gummy portion, continues to experience rapid market expansion by both increased consumer demand and shifting consumer preferences. There are numerous traditional supplements and nutraceutical opportunities in this space. Additionally, in the long run, the looming broad legalization of cannabis-related products opens up additional significant industry opportunities. Catalent may not be heavily involved in cannabis yet, but the industry is currently growing at a projected 25 to 35% annually and providing meaningful contributions to the nutraceutical space. It's not clear if Catalent is interested in cannabis gummies, but they have certainly positioned themselves with broad market production access through the acquisition of Betera. This latest capital raise is just a step along that road. Even if Catalent remains focused on traditional supplements lines, the 4 manufacturing facilities acquired in the deal are on track to be worth their weight in gold, as numerous companies look for white label and custom manufacturing sources. Thanks for joining me on the Niche Podcast, your weekly summary of the top news in the biotech, pharma, clinical research, and life science industries. You can learn more at thenichepod.com or find us on your favorite podcast app. Like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, share with your friends. If you like what you hear, please rate and review. It really helps us. Once again, I'm Dr. Noah Goodson. I'll see you next week.